Good morning, students. So we were discussing the systems of classification. So let's continue that from our last video. So one thing I forgot while dealing about the systems, that first there were two systems of classification, the natural system and the artificial system of classification. So the artificial system of classification was the previous form, earlier forms. Okay, so it was based on one or few superficial characteristics of a group like size, shape, body parts, lifespan, etc., while the natural system was based on the comparison of many characteristics of a group. Okay, so this natural system, again, in this system only the two kingdom, three kingdom and the five kingdoms classification started, and the artificial system was actually the earlier system practiced by you can say Aristotle, who was the first person to classify animals, and his pupil, a student, Theophrastus, was the first to classify the plants. Okay, so in that system there were many flaws, like the plants, both the pine tree and the banana tree, maybe the apple tree. So based on their height, they were all considered as trees, whereas they both are very different from each other. So only the outer characteristics was seen, okay, and the inner characteristics was not seen. Okay, now we had already discussed about the two kingdom and the three kingdom and the five kingdom systems. So today we'll start the with the criterias on which the five kingdom system developed by the Whitaker was based upon. So see, the five kingdom classification was based upon the cell structure of the organism, whether the cell was a prokaryotic cell or eukaryotic cell. Now all of you may be wondering what is meant by a prokaryotic cell or a eukaryotic cell. So there a prokaryotic cell is a primitive type of cell, you can say. Okay, so in a prokaryotic cell, see, you can see the difference between the both of the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cells. So if we'll see the eukaryotic cells, they have a nucleus surrounded by a nuclear membrane, and other membrane bound organelles are also found. Okay, but a prokaryotic cell only has a cellular membrane with no membrane extending in the inside of the cell. There is no nuclear membrane, no membrane bound organelles are present. Okay, so these kind of cells, the prokaryotic type, are especially present in the kingdom Monera, or you can say bacteria and archaea. Okay, and these are very small microscopic cells. Okay, and uh, they actively live in any environment, okay, like inside the gut of other organisms. So bacteria can be found anywhere. See, the other difference is the prokaryotic cell doesn't have a nuclear membrane surrounding the nuclear materials like DNA is shown, but in a eukaryotic cell there is a nuclear membrane which bounds the nucleus, and the other cellular organelles are also bounded by the membrane. Okay, so this is the basic difference between the two. Understood the difference between the two. Now see the body structure. The second criteria was the body structure of the organism, whether the organism is unicellular, means that has only one cell, or it is multicellular, means the higher hierarchies have, or the higher kingdoms of classification had organisms who were composed of more than one cell. So such cells, organisms were called as multicellular organisms. You can take your example. Our body or a human body is composed of billions and billions of cells. Okay, so according to the body structure of the organism, the second criteria was developed, and third was the mode of nutrition of the organism, whether the organism is able to synthesize its own food, that is called autotrophs, or depends upon other organism for its nutrition, or heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So in your previous classes we have discussed about the different modes of nutrition where the plants photosynthesize and produce their own food from the materials like carbon dioxide, water in the presence of sunlight. Why? Because chlorophyll is present. So these are all the characteristics of the kingdom Plantae, and so they are called as autotrophs. Okay. But the animals, the rest of the kingdoms, they depend upon other organisms for their nutrition, or for getting their nutrition. So they are called as heterotrophs. Okay. So for easier, you can say, for making the study easier, I have listed the characteristics of different kingdoms in a tabular form. Okay. So like Monera, you know that is the cells are prokaryotic, the first division of the 5 kingdom classification which we'll discuss today, Monera. So we'll start with the kingdom Monera. So prokaryotic, okay, the cells are, they are unicellular. That means the cell will be very small. So they will be microscopic, can be seen from a microscope only. With bare eyes you cannot see these organisms, and these may have cell wall. Okay, so there is no nucleus present in such organisms. So the that is called nucleoid. When I was telling you the difference between the two, we have discussed the nuclear material is condensed at one place in the prokaryotic cells. So such is called nucleoid. Okay, that doesn't have any nuclear membrane surrounding the nuclear material. Okay. Now let's see the characteristics of the kingdom Monera in detail. This figure, this is the figure of a bacterial cell. So by taking this example, we'll discuss the other characteristics of this kingdom too. So as I have told you, the kingdom Monera comprises of the organisms which are single celled or unicellular. Okay, then what I have told you, that they are prokaryotic. See, the nuclear material is not bounded by any nuclear membrane. So no nucleus, defined nucleus is present. Okay. Third is, you can see that they are very small, and maybe you can say in this earth they are the smallest living organisms. Okay. So most of them have a rigid cell wall. So there, as you can see, the thread-like flagella may be present for movement. Okay. So that helps in movement. Okay. So since they are unicellular, so shapes of these bacterial cell may be different. You can see here they may be cylindrical or comma shaped or spiral. Okay, so like this, or you can say spherical also. So different types of shapes may be present. Okay, then some are unable to prepare their food, so they may be autotrophic or heterotrophic. Okay, and they are found almost everywhere. The nutrition, we can jot down that they may be autotrophic. That means they are able to synthesize their own food from inorganic substances. So that may be of two types, because some bacteria are also found in the hot water springs, etc. So they may be photoautotrophs, so the organisms which can make their own food by light, like plants. Okay, and maybe chemoautotrophs, that means they may obtain energy from chemical reactions. So bacteria are found almost everywhere. Okay, and or maybe heterotrophs, that means they depend upon other organisms or dead organic matter for food. Okay, so since they are very microscopic organisms, so they may also have different kinds of nutrition. Okay, that means they may obtain their nutrition from different types of activities. So that depends upon the bacteria itself, what kind of bacteria it is and what kind of nutrition it what kind of, what you can say, that nutrition mode they have. Okay, so a large majority of the bacteria are actually heterotrophs. So you can say that they have various modes of nutrition. Now see the reproduction, how the bacteria reproduce or divide. So they reproduce by binary fission. So binary means two actually, and fission means division. Okay, so binary fission means breaking down of a bacterial cell into two. Okay, so a single bacterial cell, what will happen, it will split. Okay, split or break into two, resulting in two different organisms. Okay, but what happens in unfavorable condition, they may reproduce by spore formation. See the useful effects of bacteria. So certain bacteria acts as a natural fertilizers of the soil. By their modes of nutrition, they add the nitrogen in the soil and thus increasing the, what you can say, fertility of the soil. Okay, so what they do, they trap atmospheric nitrogen and provide it to the plants. Okay, several medicines and vaccines are prepared with the help of the bacteria too, like antibiotics. If you see the antibiotics which are used to treat various diseases, so most of them are prepared from the bacteria. So can you name some antibiotics? If you can, then you can write. Various other medicines are also prepared with the help of bacteria. Okay. Various bacteria are used in the production of food items. Now all of you eat curd, you know, cheese, butter, vinegar, yogurt. Okay, so all these are prepared with the help of bacteria. So the bacteria Lactobacillus and Streptococcus present in the curd, which helps in the formation of curd from milk. Okay, so when you add a little amount of curd to a warm milk, then these bacteria grow faster in the milk and reproduce. Okay, they divide and produce lactic acid. Then this lactic acid helps in the curdling of milk and helps the curd to set. Okay. Some bacteria are also used in the leather industries and fabric industries for the production of leathers and fibers. Okay, so these are the good effects, benefits or beneficial roles of bacteria. But the bacteria are harmful for us too. You know, many diseases are caused by the pathogens, bacterial pathogens. Okay, like tuberculosis, cholera, typhoid. Okay, some vaccinations are also given to children in their childhood to protect them from such diseases. Okay, so some bacteria also spoils the food. So you know, bacteria, this kingdom Monera, they are called as the decomposers. Okay, so they also result in the spoiling of food, souring of milk, you know, rotting of eatables. Okay, so they are responsible for food spoilage. You know, you may get food poisoning by eating contaminated food, and this contamination is caused by bacteria. So it causes vomiting, abdominal pains, diarrhea. So that is the reason why, to protect the food from getting contaminated, sometimes the food which are tinned, means we eat canned food like mushrooms and etc. So they are the sealed food, so they get intended with gas, filled with gas. So when you open these items, the gas comes out with the pores, and what happens? So there is no bacteria present in this food item and they are safe to consume. So these are the harmful effects of bacteria. So some questions are there related to today's class. Okay. So we'll see the next kingdom, kingdom Protista, or the first animals, and the kingdom Fungi. Okay. In the next class. So fill in the blanks is there. So Das kingdom contains prokaryotic organisms. Das and Das bacteria present in curd help in its formation. So bacteria are of industrial importance. Just told you they are used to produce two things. Okay, you have to write the name of those two. Then Das are found in almost everywhere, including hot springs and deserts. Then you have to write the name of two bacteria that is useful in our daily life. Then which kingdom is also known as the decomposers in the biosphere? You know, we have discussed only one kingdom today. Then how do bacteria reproduce? That you need to write. Explain only the names, okay? Explain the different types of the shapes found in bacteria with the help of diagram. So I have shown you one diagram to show you the different shapes of the bacteria. So you need to draw that diagram. See this diagram, different shapes of the bacteria. You need to draw this diagram. Okay, and here are two tables which I'll provide in the group for you to write the useful bacteria and the harmful bacteria. So you'll draw these two tables in your notebook. Okay, that's all for today.